Hi, I'm Dani Valent, author of In the Mix, Great Thermomix Recipes, a book that shares the dishes of great chefs and bloggers from around the world. I've had my Thermomix since 2007 and I love it. I use it multiple times every day, breakfast, lunch and dinner. But I'm always looking for new things to do with my Thermomix and I love beautiful cookbooks. In the Mix is the result of that inspiration. I love chocolate and I love chocolate ganache. I can't believe how simple this recipe is. It's from Jockey Petrie, who works at the Fat Duck restaurant in England. This is such a fantastic recipe, so let's do it. All right, we're using cream. Now in the recipe in the book we call for UHT cream. That will give your ganache a really long shelf life. I'm using fresh cream today because you can. It'll still last for a good week, but it'll never last that long. Get those scales going. There we go, our cream. Now I'm gonna put some Kirsch in. That's a cherry liqueur. Glucose syrup. And just a little pinch of salt. We'll just warm that up for a few minutes. 80 degrees. Okay, so that's our base ingredients nicely warmed and mixed. Now I'm going to add the dark chocolate. And we're going to let that melt with no extra heat, just the residual heat from our mixture is going to turn this into smooth, delicious, unforgettable chocolate magnificence. So we'll just let that mix. Okay, I think that our chocolate must have melted by now. It's been in there for a few minutes. Ooh, yum. So there's two things that I'm going to do with this ganache. I'm going to spoon it gently into these little mini tart shells. You can make them yourself or you can just buy them. I've cheated and bought them and I'm not even ashamed. And I'm going to also set some in a flat tray and then cut it into cubes to roll in this cocoa. So let's do our little tartlets. Yum. Okay, so the tartlets have now set. They've been in the fridge for a couple of hours. And I also set the ganache in a shallow tray. And I'm now going to pull that out and show you something else you can do with it. Just going to pull that out and cut it into cubes, which I'll then dust with cocoa. Work fast. Don't you just love that you can do almost anything with the Thermomix spatula? Okay, let's get a couple of these babies into the cocoa. Now the cocoa is very forgiving and it makes everything look perfect. So there we go. Doesn't that just look like something you could buy in a chocolate shop for a lot of money? And you just continue as so. Okay, and so there we have it. Beautiful Kirsch Ganache cubes dusted with cocoa. Tempering chocolate means heating couverture, high quality chocolate, to about 50 degrees and then letting it cool slightly. This ensures that it sets crisp, shiny and glossy for things like truffles, or as I'm going to also show you, peanut crisps. I'm going to show you the technique from Melbourne chocolate expert Kirsten Tibbles. We take 500 grams of milk chocolate. Beautiful. I'm just going to break those into smaller pieces now so that the melting process occurs evenly and quickly. And now I'm going to heat the chocolate to 50 degrees while slowly stirring. So let's have a look at our chocolate. Oh, that's melted beautifully and it's at 50 degrees. So now I'll just scrape it down to make sure that we're catching everything, because nobody wants to miss out on chocolate. And then I'm going to stir it for another minute without heat. This will just bring it down to the temperature that we need it to be so we can work with it. Okay, so our tempered chocolate has been stirring and cooling. It's at about 37 degrees, which is what we need it to be, so we can work with it. I'm going to show you two applications with tempered chocolate. I'm going to use it as the crisp, shiny shell to our ganache, and I'm also going to set some peanuts onto this acetate sheet and make a sort of peanut crisp. Super yummy. So I'm going to start with the ganache, with the Ganache Truffles. These are delicious. So I'm just going to pour out some of the tempered chocolate. Save the rest for later. Now, I've got my Kirsch Ganache here, and I'm going to form that into truffles. And I'm just going to set them in the fridge on this baking sheet. Now, this can get a little bit messy, and I haven't done a degree in chocolate. I've just eaten enough to sink a ship. Let's see how we go. Basically, you get little spoons, form it into balls, quenelles if you're being fancy, but my chocolate skills aren't that fancy. Okay, now we dip it in the tempered chocolate. And you can just sort of add and then just allow, don't worry, it's all chocolate, it's all good. Pop it on a baking sheet. Now I'm going to sprinkle that with some toasted almonds. And this is the easiest thing you can do with tempered chocolate, and people go crazy for it, trust me. This is the kind of thing that if you've got to quickly make some lollies for a school party, something to take to the fete, as long as it's not a boiling hot day, you can whip these up so quickly. All you need is your chocolate and your peanuts sitting there in the pantry. Absolutely delicious. So I'm just going to sprinkle those a little bit of salt, because that sweet savoury thing really excites our palates. And then we just get our tempered chocolate. There's not much science to this. Just sprinkle it over. There you go. You could smooth this out, or you could leave it like this and pop it in the fridge to set, or on a cool day it'll set quickly on the bench. And then you can just break it into chunks to eat. And you will always be invited back. So it doesn't get more simple than that with tempered chocolate. But these just need to set in the fridge, and soon we'll eat them. Look what we made! Anyone who loves chocolate anywhere near as much as I do will be excited, like I am. So we've made our Kirsch Ganache, which we've rolled in the cocoa, and here it is on the plate, sharing star billing with our chocolate truffles. So that's Kirsch Ganache that's rolled in tempered chocolate, and then we've got some almonds sprinkled over the top just to cover any sins. Over here we've got the Kirsch Ganache, which is poured into the little tart shells. Don't forget, it's amazing in a large tart that you could cut at the end of a dinner party. And here I've got our peanut brittle, and you can just snap it, break it, hide it right at the back of the fridge, or it won't last long. And that's our Thermomix Chocolate Masterclass. Look what we made. Enjoy! This recipe is taken from my book, In the Mix, Great Thermomix Recipes. To get a copy, ask your consultant or call your nearest Thermomix office.